Hey y'all. Hey y'all. It's Taylor back, Laugh at Taylor. We've made a switch. It's we're in the Life of a Showgirl era now, not the Eras tour, you see. Look at that. I think I actually like the picture on the backside better, but it wouldn't work because it was horizontal. So today we are going to be reading Paranormal Reddit. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first one is from 12 days ago. Mary's just keeping an eye on the old place. And there's a picture. Also, Paranormal Reddit is the only Reddit where I kind of go into it and look at the given pictures, kind of see what's happening so that I know if it's actually paranormal or if it's just like people saying things. So, but I don't even remember what this is about. Okay, firstly, this is not a ghost pic. The glare is just light coming through the window on the staircase landing. I just wanted to show where my first encounter happened and illustrate what I mean when I say the window on the staircase landing above the front door. So, on with my story. And sorry, this turned out to be a lot longer than I expected. My friend Sean and I went on a road trip and arrived back to my house like 1 to 1:30 in the morning. I'd only lived there about 6 months at a time. I parked in front of my house when we began unloading luggage from the trunk. I was leaning into the trunk when my friend asked, "Is your mom here?" I scoffed. "At this hour? Not likely." I took out a suitcase and turned the face at him to ask why he asked, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking up at the tall window on the staircase landing above the front door. Before I could say a word, he went pale. His eyes widened in terror, and he thrusted an arm out to point at said window, exclaiming, "There's someone in your house." I turned to look and thought I saw a face looking out the window, but it was gone so quickly I couldn't be sure. There's a street light out front that lights up the entire landing at night with no window covering. You don't dare go down to the kitchen with no clothes on or you'd give the neighborhood a show. Lol. I thought, meh, glare on the window, but Sean swore, and still swears to this day, that he saw a woman in a long dress standing at the window looking down at us. Also, girl, why is it always the women or like the little girls dressed in white with long black hair? Like, is that just stereotypical like ring ghosts that we've now made? Like, why is it always, I've never seen a lady in white with long black hair, and I hope I never do, girl. But why is it always that? I was more concerned that we'd go in and interrupt a burglary in process. The thought of a ghost didn't even occur to me. Being the cowards we are, we went through the back kitchen door and got big knives. Clutching the knives and each other, we went through the house, searching any place a person could be hiding. Closets, behind sofas, under beds, the works. We found nothing and no one. Afterwards, things began to happen on a regular basis, like the sound of footsteps going up the stairs so clearly that even the cats would follow them. Both in unison, they looked up as if at a person I could not see. They didn't seem too bothered, just interested, which is a good thing because I'd freak right out if they were arching their backs and screeching at whatever/whomever it was. A few times a month, my bedroom door opened at night, and I don't mean just swinging open, which it did, but an actual audible click of the door handle turned because the door had been soundly shut. And afterwards, the sound of footsteps crossing the room was unmistakable. The cats slept at the foot of the bed, and they would both sit up every single time and turn their heads at the same time, watch something moving across the room. One key on the piano in the living room would press down hard, sounding a note through the house. The cats were jumping on the keys, as they were never in that room when it happened, but every time they'd run off to have a look. As time went on, things started happening on a more regular basis, things that were harder to explain than just your typical old house noises, such as lights on in a room you'd just walk past where there weren't any on before. Cabinet doors open when you know they'd just been closed. A radio turning on by itself when you weren't even in the room. I finally contacted a psychic to come over. I didn't give her any information of what had been happening. Heck, I didn't even give her the address to ensure she would research the history of the house beforehand. In case you're wondering, I offered to pick her up and bring her over since she said she didn't drive, and I helpfully offered the ride so she wouldn't have to take a bus. Mostly it was me wanting her to go in blind. She was pretty freaking amazing. Her name's Mary, she said. That was indeed the name of the woman who first lived here. Her father had built the house in 1904 and gave it to her as a wedding present. She died in this house. She was old when she died, but she isn't now. I see a long dress, antique-ish, like the ladies wore in the movie Titanic. Mary died in the house in 1954 and had raised 3 children there, and maybe she returned to an earlier time, which would explain the long dress Sean had seen. I don't know. The psychic said Mary was just keeping an eye on the place that had been her home and the site of many happy memories, and that there was nothing to fear. Mary didn't mean any harm. The psychic added, "She likes your cats." That went through me because not only did she have no way of knowing the original owner's name had been Mary, but I hadn't said one word about my cats following her around. Anyway, the final tidbit was that the psychic said she thought Mary would move on once her last child had passed. I can't find any details about her children, but considering she got married at 18 in 1904 puts her birth date at 1886, and when her childbearing years would most likely have been mid-1920s at the very latest maybe, the youngest would have been well into their 90s by 2021. That is the year everything stopped happening. It's been quiet since then. I wish Mary well, but I have to admit I kind of miss her. That's kind of sad. It does sound like, in here, I'll pop up the picture over here. This is the picture of the window above the door. And kind of would have been good to know that your house was built in like 1904. Is that what she said? Yeah, 1904. That psychic must have been like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm skeptic of psychics, not of the paranormal, but of psychics, because there's so many fake psychics out there. It's like, who do you trust? And I like the idea of not giving her the address and that you went and picked her up. That's a little weird, like that you had to go and pick the psychic up, but she didn't know beforehand, and I really liked that tactic of not giving her the address so that she would go in completely blind. I wonder if she knew that you had cats, so that's the only thing that I'm like, did she have cats? But this seems paranormal, and especially, it does look like it's an old house. If it was built in 1904, girl, you're gonna have some ghosts. Okay, the top comment said, "That's pretty wild, thanks for sharing, but I wonder if the psychic could have Googled your phone number to come up with the address. When I entered my phone number into Google, it comes up with my name and address. Otherwise, I'd wonder why she'd accept a ride from a strange man, you know? Thanks for sharing all the spooky stuff you experienced, though. I love the house." That's definitely possible. It started in the early 2000s and Google was around before then. I assume she passed on my name and number to an acquaintance before agreeing to come over, you know. If you don't hear from me, and go find this guy. I forgot to add, and this story was already too long, I admit, that the psychic went around and pointed out the rooms where things had happened. She mentioned that Mary had played the piano when she was alive, that she often went up and down the stairs making the sounds, and she pointed out the few rooms that Mary frequented, rooms where lights had turned on, and the kitchen with the cabinet doors, my bedroom. She didn't say a word about any of the other rooms where nothing had happened. It was really on the fence about having her over, to be honest, but she pretty much nailed it in my opinion. Yeah, I didn't realize that. If you would have given her the number, I mean, obviously, like, I'm pretty sure there was, like, at one point there were phone books in the world. Like, you could literally find anybody's number and name, and I think address. I don't know. I wasn't born during then. But I didn't think of that. Like, you could just Google a phone number and then it would come up with the person's information. See, this is where I'm, like, iffy. Like, did the psychic actually use, like, her intuition, her powers, or did she just, like, Google it? See, that's where, like, that's the only part of, like, paranormal that I'm skeptic of, and it's not even of, like, the paranormal world. It's about the people who claim they have access to the paranormal world. Anyways, if she didn't Google this, that's crazy, and regardless if she did or not, that house is definitely old and definitely has some ghosts. If she did Google it, whatever. She's a fraud. Next. Most compelling ghost story I've ever had in my life was while I was living in Japan. I feel like foreign countries have more paranormal experiences and stories, and I find it so interesting because, like, here we're just like lady wearing dress with black hair, like creaks and knocks, whereas like all of these other countries have different stories, and I find it so interesting. So I'm very excited about this one. A few years ago, my wife and I were living with a friend in Japan. She had a house with a large open living area with French doors leading out to the garden and a half wall with an office space behind. We were sleeping the year in the garden, and every day I work in the office in the house my wife works in the year. So one day I'm taking a break, watching some videos online, and something catches my eye. This all happened in a split second. I turned my head. There appeared to be a shadow of a small old woman. Before my brain could fully register what I was looking at, it rushed at me. I jumped out of skin and it was gone. It all happened so quick that I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. I never mentioned it to anyone. So every night before bed, my wife would ask me to come into the main house with her and wait in the corridor so she could use the bathroom. At first it was cute, but after a while I started to get a bit irritating, and I asked why a grown woman needed someone to come with her so she could use the bathroom. She told me that she'd been in the living room area, the same place I saw the shadow, looking at her reflection in the French doors, and she saw an old woman standing behind her in the reflection. She spun around and there was no one there. Interesting. So it's two instances. I feel like one, okay, you could pass it off as like maybe a coincidence. Two, that's like, okay, could potentially be a coincidence, but that's really weird. Somebody commented, had the friend who owned the house seen the apparition in the past? OP replied, we didn't ask at the time, but years later, a few months ago, funnily enough, she was in England and she came around to say hi. So we told her about what we'd seen, and she said she'd never seen anything personally. However, she did say that it was odd enough that we should say that because there is a tatami room in the house everyone refuses to sleep in, to the point that when her children have friends over, they would rather sleep on a hard, cold wooden floor than be put in that room. No one has ever quite been able to say why. However, at the time, that room was in her mother-in-law's private apartment, so we never went near it. So who knows how or if the two are related. Maybe the Japanese ghost just didn't like the two foreigners in the house. Next. Okay, this one, it took me a minute to look at this. Let's see if you can spot it. A friend of mine sent me this picture from his group of friends in Chile. No, there's no story. It's literally just a picture. What do you see? What paranormal thing do you see?
Nothing. Everything. That's nose.
Yeah.
And
Nose, eye, mouth. Okay. Let's read some comments because we have no story along with this. That is definitely creepy, but is it real? Okay. So this is a backstory. Somehow somebody knows this. A Brazilian singer took a picture with a group of fans. One of the girls looked weird, so some people who were in the pic and didn't know this girl sent the picture to a TV show and said that the girl was a ghost. For like an hour, they talked about the pic with specialists. One said it was a ghost, the other said it was a witch. They milked the thing pretty hard. Well, the ghost was a kid, and her mother sued the show and got some money because of the humiliation that the girl suffered. It was funny as hell to watch them speculating for so long. Yeah, I was kind of wondering if that was like somebody behind. Apparently it is, but it is definitely creepy. Okay, security cam footage of a ghost in a cell phone store from my work in 2012. I worked for a cell phone store in 2012. I came in one day and saw a display phone laying on the floor, so I went to the back and looked at the footage and saw this. This is a recording of the security camera screen using an iPhone. Additional info, the adhesive that holds the phone displays are very strong. Yeah, like, I've only been in like an Apple store for like phones, unless like Verizon, but I can't remember. The Apple store has like that thing on the back and it like comes out, but I think normally phones are like mounted. They're like stuck with like that alien tape glue on like steroids. It's like so sticky. I truly am a skeptic overall, but I have thought about this video here and there for years and figured out I could share it to hear your guys' thoughts. Somebody commented first, why footage is so shaky, and second, there seems to be some movement on the floor before the phone falls. Somebody said earthquake or maybe giant tractor trailer drove by and shook the ground. Since you're filming a video off your iPhone, it's shaky, it's hard to tell what the situation is. Okay, somebody said a good question to ask yourself is, did you ever really feel anything there? If this was just a single incident and the store seemed to not give you any bad feelings, I would say it's probably just a fluke. Is there any reason it should or would be haunted? Somebody else replied, the low frame rate will be difficult in the discernment process. And this, it's easy to insert cuts in something with a frame rate this bad. So let's go ahead and watch it again. Here. There we go. Yeah, it looks like... Let's go back. I'm gonna go. So, if you look, right around here, there's like movement.
It's like a white figure, a clear figure.
Right here.
And the shoes is brown.
And then the phone falls. So...
Oh, that's the phone?
No, the phone falls over here. Shadow right here. Yeah, so the only thing is like, did somebody like cover it up? Like, again, I don't know much about posture check. I don't know much about frame rates or security cameras or anything, but it does seem like it could potentially be easier because it was like, it looked low, like frame rate, resolution, like it didn't look very clear. So I feel like it could be easier to kind of blur over somebody maybe since it's already blurry. So I don't know about that one. I don't know if that's actually paranormal. Last one. Went to a well-known haunted cemetery at night and regretted it. Okay, I found your issue. You went to a cemetery at night. My friends and I, 2 girls, 2 guys, went to a cemetery in our own town that is very old and has a very bad reputation of being haunted. Ask anyone who's been there at night. So we decided to go at night and see what we see. Please excuse my storytelling, it's not the best. The way that the cemetery is set up is very easy to go in. There's a big gate that they lock at night, and there's a big stretch, or the entire border of it, I'm not sure. There's a wooded ditch that you have to go down and then up to get in. It's very easy. And before I explain the creepy things that happen, I am going to admit that we were fully looking to find creepy things, and we did fuck around and find out. We made it in the cemetery, and the moon has the grounds lit just well enough so you can see around. When we walk in there were flat graves in the ground, and we all made super sure that we did not step on the graves. It was never our intention to be disrespectful. See, that's the one thing that I'm like, why are you going into a graveyard? Like, literally, I would be so afraid to step on something, especially a grave. Like, I am not looking to be disrespectful to people who have passed. Like, I'm not even going to go into a cemetery. I actually have been in a cemetery once. So, when we planned to walk up a hill on these steps that lead to a house, a mausoleum I believe it's called, where a little girl is buried whose parents were just so they could bury her in this memorial. Wait, what? Whose parents offed her so they could just bury her in this memorial. What? That is horrible. We were standing in a path on the sort of outside edge of the graveyard when we all contemplated if we even wanted to go up there, because it was horrifying. I turned to look at one of the other mausoleums on the main lawn that were about 100 feet away from me, and I see a vertical shape standing right next to it. I couldn't make it out as a distinct person, but it was very vertical and about as tall and as wide as a person. It was kind of a sheer, hazy white and gray color, and it was slowly flashing in and out. It would be here and there and then fade back and come back. I stared at it for a long time to make sure I wasn't seeing things, and I made sure my friends saw it too. I saw another one of these standing next to another burial site as well. We decided to leave because we were not feeling welcomed by the spirits/goats. I'm not sure if this is the right term, but something was off. Keep in mind, we had also been here for about 5 minutes, so we just got here and were already being given signs that we are not welcome, so we did not want to stick around and see what would continue to happen. I'm walking next to my friends, the other girl, and I have both hands on her right arm because we were freaked out. And I believe one guy was a good couple feet behind us and the other one was next to my friend. She instantly freaks out and says, "Who grabbed my left arm?" It wasn't any of us, and it happened again, and it was a very firm grab. There was no way it was any of the guys. We go back down into the forested ditch to leave and are sitting in the bottom watching the highway and making sure all of the cars are gone when we hear a giant whooshing sound from behind us. That sounded like someone reaching over and brushing all the leaves around and tearing up the forest, but even louder. The second all the cars are gone, we cross the highway and sprint back to the car. That's all that happened that night. It was the next night that me and my girlfriend and I are getting ready and waiting for the two guys to come over. We hear someone clearly say, "Boo." My cats wake up and turn around to look at where the sound came from. The weird thing is that because I am hard of hearing and it is not normal for me to hear sounds/words at that pitch and tone. We both scream bloody murder and tell the guys to come over right now because there are two girls. Because what are two girls gonna do? LMAO. We make sure all the doors are locked and sit in my living room near the front door and start praying and talking to whoever is in the house with us and telling them we meant no harm and did not mean to disrespect the dead. The next night, when I'm alone in my basement, I hear tons of footsteps and racket up upstairs. It was horrifying. Basically, that is all that happened. So sorry for the long story again, but my question is, what do I do? For more context, I'm a Christian and believe there are other spirit type things out there and weird things do happen. We plan on going to the graveyard this week during the day and leaving flowers on some graves and praying. Did I bring bad juju home with me? Are they bad spirits? We need help. So, it doesn't sound like they're necessarily bad or malicious because they're not physically harming you physically or like things are like throwing about. It just sounds like maybe trickster ghosts, if that's what they are, and it's not like just random footsteps or like somebody in your house said boo. Oh, okay, she's on a clock. Did you bring bad juju home? You know, a graveyard has a lot of people in it, and I wouldn't be surprised if you accidentally did step on like a grave or something. You also didn't do anything like bad. You just like got in there and then left. But let's see what the comments say. Somebody else said burn some sage. It's supposed to have some cleansing properties. Honestly, yeah. Yeah, girl, I'm about to burn some sage because like just cleanse the negative aura and everything.
This one is the wrong one.
Somebody else said, wow, that is so scary. At least you were with your friends. You should never go alone unless it is a dare. I saw a couple... Bro, you shouldn't even go alone if it is a dare. I saw a couple of ghosts in my life. One, when I was at school, I saw a man in the schoolyard. When I blinked, he was gone. 2, I saw a girl running. When I shook my head, she was gone. 3, when I turned on my bedroom light, I saw this girl. She smiled and waved. I waved back. Then I shut my light off and turned it back on, and she was gone. All 3 of them was white and fading. Yeah, I feel like it could have been a ghost there, especially with cemeteries, but also it could have been just somebody standing there. Maybe like the lighting of the moon did something. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below
what you think
of
about
these
this
stories.
video.
And while you're down there commenting, click all the buttons. You know what to do. And I hope you guys have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world doing this. And peace.
And peace. I love you guys. Love you.